Welcome on into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I am Dorian.
And this is our Thursday throwback, Bourne Supremacy edition. We are in the second movie of 3. So, Dorian, you can start us out, I guess.
Okay, so let's talk about first impressions. What were your first impressions watching this movie?
First impressions are I don't remember this movie as much as I remember Identity and Ultimatum. I think because I didn't watch it as much because I didn't enjoy it as much. But I still dug the movie. I thought it was a good spy espionage movie.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I mean, my first impressions come from me watching it last night.
Right, and mine was, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, so I watched this movie for the first time last night, and I thought it was all right. Not bad. I mean, I think it is a downgrade from the previous movie here. I mean, it's a weird kind of middle chapter that really doesn't, try to top what the first one did, but it just kind of tries to push the story along further and just give you more answers to questions that you had from the first movie.
Yeah.
So now on this rewatch, has anything changed about how you feel about the movie, really?
No, not yet. I mean, I think it's kind of what I remember. I actually remember being bored at some parts in this movie where I was kind of like, I wish this movie would move a little faster, even though it's a shorter movie than the first one.
Yeah, no, it is.
But I still dug it. I mean, it was fun. Kind of the little... It didn't hit me as hard, I guess, as the first one. So
yeah, no, I get it. I mean, there's an initial wow factor from the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about some of the characters in this one. Now, we have obviously returning characters.
Yep.
Jason Bourne.
Mm-hmm.
He has a fifth sense about Caucasian killers.
You mean 6?
As a joke, but yeah. So like the first kind of scene basically in the movie is he I don't know.
Just picks him out from...
Yeah, he just turns around. He's on a run, he does a little run, got some water. He's looking around and sees some guy in a car and he's like, now it's on, basically. Yeah, it's like something's wrong, something's off.
Yeah.
The way he's dressed, what he's wearing, all that,
what he's driving.
It's all wrong. And,
yeah.
He's out for revenge this whole movie basically because of Marie's death.
Which they kill her off very unceremoniously in this movie.
Yeah, she gets sniped basically.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, yeah, well, we can't afford to pay you anymore, so you're getting killed off.
Sorry.
Yeah, so something along those lines here. But yeah.
I think that was the only way they were going to get Jason Bourne back in the game anyway.
No, I think you are totally correct on that here, and I think it's a good plot motivator as well.
Yeah, because Jason's coming for the government with extreme prejudice. Mm-hmm. He thinks it's Treadstone that, made the hit on Marie.
Which technically,
kinda,
yeah.
Like if we want to get into the nitty gritty of it, Abbott, who's the old white
guy,
dude,
yeah, who's kind of overseeing
he was shady. He was the one who killed what's his name from
the Treadstone director from the first movie.
Yeah,
and I think Conklin or something.
Conklin, yeah. And I mean, he's shady this whole movie, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later. But this is a good way to get him back, I think, in the game, if that makes sense.
No, it totally
does. And he ends up going after the assassin from the end of the first movie, and goes after him because he thinks it's him, basically, because they're the only. And then that guy even tells him, "Hey, we're the only 2 left from this program. It wasn't me. I didn't do it."
Yeah, exactly.
He ends up fighting him and killing him.
Yep.
Anyway,
with a wire,
with a wire and a magazine.
Yeah.
He's MacGyver now.
Yep. Well, yeah.
But essentially, what this is he's looking for answers still, and basically is just on a rampage after. Yeah. Maybe not a rampage because he's pretty collected, but he's going after these people.
He's out for blood here.
He's one step ahead of them now, I feel like. Instead of him kind of being on the run, he's more calculated in this movie, even though he's super calculated in the first movie. I just felt like in the first movie, they had kind of more of an upper hand on him.
Well, yeah, because he didn't know who he was or what he was
or
about.
what they were. And now he knows what they were. He knows what they're doing. And we see that played out in the plot, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and well, you see him more in his element, or his fully evolved Pokemon form.
He's leveled up quite a bit.
So he's I mean, he is out for blood, and he is definitely has the upper hand, like pretty much the majority of the movie. Yeah. He's still on the run though, just because.
He is.
I mean,
he's one versus the whole government,
right? And he's obviously
two governments technically.
Yeah, two technically. Yeah.
Anything to add to Jason's kind of character? Maybe where he's at, what's different about him?
I mean, not really. Although I do want to mention that. So last episode we talked about how he changes Marie's appearance by cutting her hair, washing out the dye in his hair, and so again, Marie's appearance has changed. Like
long blonde hair.
I almost thought it was a different actress at that point. Which, by the way, what happened to her German accent that she had?
Dude,
like,
I don't know.
Did she really really commit herself to like this undercover stuff here?
Maybe
going into hiding. But
he doesn't look any different though.
Exactly, that's my point. It's like you literally did nothing to change your appearance. I get you're Matt Damon.
Get a tan.
And your face is the moneymaker, and you can't change it too much, but
grow a beard.
Shave your head.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know.
But
whatever.
Yeah, and so it's Jason's kind of obviously he feels responsible probably for the death too because they switched those seats.
Yeah.
And the guy saw him driving in the driver's seat, and they ended up switching seats so he could shoot at him.
Yeah.
And she ends up getting sniped. So, yeah, I mean, he's dealing with all that the whole time, and just kind of he starts remembering another job he had, which I thought that was a weird subplot.
Yeah, I mean, it does flesh out like what's his name, Abbott?
Yeah.
Yeah, like why he is shady and why he really wants to bury all this stuff here about Treadstone and Jason Bourne and all that.
Yeah, basically, we'll talk about Abbott next. I just have him as old dude.
Yeah.
Or old white.
Yeah.
Because that's what he is. He's very suspicious, obviously. Mm-hmm. He's one sly mother trucker.
Oh, big time.
And what I thought was interesting, so at the beginning of this movie, there's a heist that takes place.
Yeah. There's somebody who's like undercover trying to get like information from the Russians, I think it was.
Yeah, they're trying to steal government records of some kind.
Yeah.
That have to do with a case that Jason Bourne worked early on in his first kill, basically.
Yeah.
Abbott's a part of that. Conklin's a part of that.
Yeah.
Abbott basically had a Russian equivalent of Treadstone operative go in. Like, this was a staged thing.
Yeah.
So the heist was staged. Abbott was the only one who really knew it was staged because his guys were the ones pulling it.
Yeah.
Abbott's assistant, I believe.
Yeah.
Danny? It was Danny.
I guess, yeah.
Danny was kind of investigating it.
Yeah.
And was telling Abbott kind of about this, and Abbott ends up just choking him out and killing him.
Or did he stab him here?
No, he choked him out.
Did he choke him out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought was also weird. I'm like, this young guy that's taller than him.
I mean, granted, like this guy, I mean, he's not Jason Bourne here or something.
No, that's true.
But I mean, yeah, it is weird for like this old, like probably late 50s, early 60s guy.
Yeah.
With really no training that I am aware of, just to like, I'll just choke this guy out, break his neck.
I thought he was a politician, to be honest, but it doesn't seem like he is, or maybe he is, and he's just got a really shady.
Because that's how like this movie I feel like presents him, and like even the last movie is like he's a politician that had some dirty jobs done for him,
right.
And now he's reaping the consequences of those dirty jobs.
So the reason he kills Danny is because Danny's figuring out that it was all staged, and that the guy that went in there, like it was just completely staged. Like the assassin went in there and took the records. That was all supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So you get to see kind of more of Abbott, of his shadiness, and just kind of the depth of his corruptness, I guess.
His manipulation of events and whatnot, yeah.
Which is directly kind of pinned towards Jason Bourne. He wanted to stage Jason. That's kind of how he got back in the game, is Abbott had Jason's prints, framed him as the one who came in and killed those government operatives and stole the information about the case, basically. Now, we come to find out that is not the case. It wasn't Jason. It was a Russian.
Yeah, Carl
Urban's character. who went in and did that for Abbott. So Abbott's in cahoots with the Russian government.
Yeah.
It's kind of convoluted a little bit.
It is convoluted, but I mean, as long as you're like following the thread line, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You can make sense of it. But.
So, I mean, his character basically, the progression of his character is he ends up killing himself.
Yeah.
Because Jason gets him basically.
Yeah,
and he doesn't kill him.
He gets the goods on him, like basically makes him confess that,
yeah,
hey, I know you did these things. And matter of fact, I actually got you on tape to do these things. So I'm not going to kill you just because my girlfriend, she wasn't about that. But
and that is kind of, I think, the progression of Jason is he's not a cold-blooded killer in this movie like he kind of was in the first.
Yeah.
Where obviously he was killing the operatives because he had to. He kills one operative in this movie because he has to.
Yeah.
But even like Carl Urban's character, he just lets him be. Like he's like, all right, he might die, he might not die, but I'm going to leave this because he doesn't know what's going on.
Well, right. I mean, basically, like when Jason is not backed into a corner, he does not kill people if he has that option. If he is backed into a corner, he has to. Yeah, he has to, exactly.
So yeah, and then Nikki's back in this movie, which I really only to draw Jason out.
Yeah,
which they don't explain really.
Well, it was interesting just because. So
we don't get the reveal that's his ex-wife or former wife until next movie.
Right, and because Jason is the one that picked Nikki, essentially to be the informant, basically, or like for him to get the information from her here. So it's kind of weird that he chose her of all people. I mean, unless like, I don't know, something came back to him, like a memory or like or some type of familiarity or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's really only a couple scenes with her in the whole movie. There's not really any character development as far as that goes, except for.
I definitely feel like she had a bigger role to play in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, she's only in a couple scenes in the first movie too.
Yeah.
I mean, she has a whole scene with Jason where he's kind of like threatening her, like, what is going on? Why are they after me? Blah 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 blah. And she's like, I don't know. He's like, bull crap. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That whole spiel, and she doesn't she doesn't know.
No, exactly. Well, pretty much the only person that did know at that point was Abbott. Yeah.
So this is more of Jason kind of running the espionage thing behind the scenes. We're introduced to a new character, Pam. Pam. And so Pam is very intuitive. I'll say that.
Yeah. No, she is.
So she's in a position similar to the guy who ran Treadstone. She's not running an operative or organization like Treadstone, but she's in a similar position, it seems like.
Yeah, no, she seems like, I mean, obviously Treadstone doesn't exist anymore here, but she is.
Well, and even they'll acquit that there even was a Treadstone.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Abbott's like never heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. But no, she's essentially serving the role that Conklin did in the first movie, where she's trying to bring in Jason Bourne. She thinks Jason Bourne is a rogue agent that needs to be brought in or taken down or what have you, all that stuff.
So, yeah, Pam doesn't know what Treadstone is. She begins to figure out kind of this organization existed, and she really wants to know what it is. That's kind of her side of the story is she's trying to figure out from within the government what this government organization was.
Yeah.
Pam knows somehow that Old White, a.k.a. Abbott, killed the Treadstone lead, Conklin.
Yeah.
Call it intuition or just, she's obviously a detective with it kind of, role.
Yeah, no, she's in the intelligence business here, so.
So she kind of puts one thing in front of the other and accuses Conklin of that. And basically Pam knows everything is what it comes down to is she's kind of,
even Jason Bourne's real name.
Yeah, she finds out Jason's real name, which gets revealed as David Webb.
Mm-hmm. Not as a cool name as Jason Bourne here.
No. She sees Abbott commit suicide at the end of the movie, and because she basically calls him out, like, because Bourne records him, sends it to Pam. Pam gets it and goes after him, basically.
Yeah.
And literally one of the last scenes of the movie is him kind of pulling the trigger on himself, I think. Yeah. Or, I mean, it's toward the end of the movie. It's not the last scene or anything, but... and then, as far as the characters go, there's not a layout similar to the other movie where it was boss fight.
Yeah.
It's like there's basically 2 fights the whole movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
One of them they're not really boss fights either. Like I would say the only boss fight is Carl Urban's character.
I don't know. I'd say the apartment one is a boss fight.
Kinda. I mean, yeah, there was that. It's a really cool scene and we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
But I just, Carl Urban, it's a young Carl Urban.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, that guy my wife said that guy looks familiar. And I kept looking at him like, what's he from? And then I looked at him, like his eyes. I was like, that's the dude from Ragnarok.
Yeah, or everything.
I mean, Carl Urban's in everything.
Oh yeah, no, he's in Star Trek. He's in. He was Judge Dredd.
He's funny in Star Trek too.
He's in Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and there's probably a few that I'm not thinking of here. But
he was that guy, I feel like, in the early 2000s, where he was just in every good movie.
Yeah, no, he was, and yeah, he's
even currently.
Yeah.
But so he's a Russian operative, working in a similar fashion. He says he's Russian Secret Service. So I don't like when he's following Jason throughout the town. Basically, the end part of the movie is just a big chase scene, like where they're onto each other, and he's trying to find Jason. Jason's it's a big car chase. It's really cool. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but this guy's working for some nerdy Russian guy, and the Russians are framing Jason for the heist in the beginning of the movie. Carl Urban's character likes to party. We see him in the club, and and so that's kind of his character. There isn't much more to it. He shows up at the beginning. There's little clips of him throughout the movie, and then at the very end, he has this big scene with Jason.
I mean, really, he's just like essentially just
he's an
adversary
boss.
or something.
Someone who's trained in a similar fashion to Jason.
So like essentially just a big bad that Jason has to overcome this movie.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about some off-the-chain scenes. I would say the interrogation room scene is kind of the first good scene we get, other than like them trying to escape the assassin at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Now this is very similar to the bench scene in the first movie, where you kind of see him reawaken.
Yeah.
And the reason I even put the scene in here was he does a little bit of action, but you get to see how many steps ahead Jason actually is.
Yeah.
Like. He got captured on purpose, obviously.
Yep.
Everything has a purpose. And even Nikki kind of talks about that later in the movie. Like, these guys don't make mistakes.
Yeah, they don't make mistakes. Like, he didn't use his, like, actual passport for a reason here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He wanted to get caught. So, yeah. Like, it was a really quick scene. Yeah. But I think it sets up how far ahead Jason actually is.
Honestly, I wish this scene was like longer or a little more played out, because I felt like, okay, we're getting to the good stuff now, and then it's like, oh, just kidding. But,
just a quick little fight.
But yeah. Well, I mean, speaking to the whole, like, this is like the first, like, good action scene we get. I do agree with that, and that's kind of saying something, especially when we had that car chase that happened in India with Marie and Jason, because there really wasn't like too much that really happened there in terms of like really cool moments. It was just like, they're just trying to get out of Dodge, just weaving through traffic, and then Marie gets shot and they both fall into like the river or whatever.
Yeah, not a whole lot there, but I mean, it was a fun quick scene. But really where it amps up is we get to the apartment fight scene in Naples.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best action scene of the movie.
Probably, yeah. So basically, Bourne goes after the last assassin in the first movie that he didn't really ever come into contact with.
Yeah. That was kind of a bait and switch in the last movie here, where you thought like he was coming after Bourne, but actually it was Conklin that he killed Conklin. Yeah.
So yeah, he basically kicks his butt with a rolled up magazine and a wire, basically.
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to like the pen fight when he was like in the
it's MacGyver.
Yeah, Paris apartment and all that. Yeah,
which carry a knife on you, man. Like if you're an assassin, I feel like you'd have a knife on you.
That's something that I do have a little bit of a point of contention with, like these movies, is like for somebody who's like very well trained in like weapons and firearms, it feels like there's a lot of times where Jason Bourne just does not have a firearm. Like even like in the, oh gosh, which scene was it? I don't know, but there was like one scene there he was dealing with somebody and he didn't have a gun. I'm like, how do you not have a gun?
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I don't know. But anyway, so, and then I think a cool part was how Jason kind of blew up his apartment, pulled the gas line,
and then
put the magazine in a toaster.
Yeah, just like,
I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, like I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would say the other really cool scene, is the end chase scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, it's a chase scene / gunfight. Like it turns into like a gunfight, like at the very end where they're like trying to, they're like ramming into each other
and shooting at the other car.
Shooting at the other car. Yeah. Which I gotta say, a couple things about that. So Jason Bourne, like, walks off bullet wounds like a champ here. Like,
dude, okay, yeah, that was one of the things I was gonna talk about. Is so he gets shot in the shoulder before they go into this long car chase.
I feel like, Carl Urban, like being like a super spy, I felt like that's like, okay, you're getting fired for like only getting a bullet wound on Jason Bourne when like he was like, I don't know, I felt like he could probably score a headshot at that distance, but whatever.
I don't know, he was using a handgun.
That's
so
true.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, so Jason goes to like a supermarket basically and grabs some alcohol,
some vodka
to clean his wound, and he's gonna like patch himself up basically.
Yeah, while
as
driving and
looking
at a map.
Yeah, and he's cleaning his wound. I thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
Dang.
And then not to mention that taxi, probably the most durable taxi I've seen in movies.
No kidding. Yeah, he rams into so many things, and
like,
that thing still comes
like
out.
Like everything that's in his way, like he runs into it. Like he gets like sideswiped by cars like numerous times. And he's like, it's fine.
Yeah. So those are the kind of some off the chain scenes. So let's, Dorn, you want to talk about what we like?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, so just starting off with just some of the things I like personally. I like that we got more answers in this movie. And I mean, that's kind of I think this movie's main focus is like the espionage, getting answers, tying up loose ends. You got that. Obviously, the fight scenes that we mentioned, the off the chain scenes. So we're talking like the interrogation room, the Treadstone agent fight, the end chase scene / gunfight. Those were great. Yeah, those were the highlights of the movie here for me.
Yeah, I like all that stuff, like you just said, like all our off the chain like scenes and all that. But I love how Bourne tracks Pam down, and he has that sniper on her.
Yeah, no, that is a pretty cool moment.
Bourne basically telling her he wants to come in. He's like has the sniper on her, and he kind of makes a comment like letting them know he can see him basically.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I don't know where this lady is. He's like, she's standing right next to you.
Yeah,
and then he's like, where?
Yeah,
what the? Yeah,
I thought that scene was super cool.
Yeah,
I like how like the Abbott's kind of in cahoots with the Russians.
Yeah,
I think it kind of just it reveals more about why you want to not like this character, basically.
Yeah, no, well, and because like in the first movie, it kind of just seemed like, he was somebody that really didn't know what was going on with Treadstone, and basically he just said, okay, Treadstone has gone too far, I need to shut it down. So it kind of seemed like maybe he's actually not that bad of a guy, but turns out he's
super bad.
Oh, he's a piece of garbage.
Yeah,
pretty
much. So yeah, I liked the car chase scene. I kind of explained that already, but I like the character development where Bourne just doesn't assassinate the Russian guy after he gets in that car accident.
Yeah,
kind of rams him into the wall. Sees that he's injured, and he's like, "I'm not going to finish him. I'm out."
Yeah, well,
see ya.
Well, especially when we learn about like Bourne's his past in this movie, where he
is kind of dealing with that. Yeah,
where he did that one hit where he killed that one guy and his wife, and he made it look like it was a murder-suicide type thing here.
And then there's a scene which
we'll get to in a second here.
Yeah. But anyway, I like when Bourne calls Pam at the end again, just like kind of like the sniper scene, but more lighthearted, like where he's like, hey, and she's like thanking him for kind of the evidence against Abbott and all that stuff, and she gives him his real name, David Webb. He's like, hopefully you can do something with this.
Yeah.
And he's like, get some rest, Pam. You look tired. And he has like the theme music again, and he walks away, and she's like, what the heck?
Yeah. Now,
so, that was cool.
Real quick question. Yeah. So I know a little bit about Ultimatum.
Yeah.
Pam is after Bourne in Ultimatum, right? Like that's
I don't
the premise.
Think so. In the first movie, Abbott mentions an organization called Blackbriar.
Right.
I don't remember. It's Tommy Lee Jones' character is in that movie that goes after Jason, I think.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So I don't know if he's a new guy. I can't remember, to be honest. It's been a while since I've seen Ultimatum.
Okay.
But basically, he's fighting more agents. We get more boss fights, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, sweet. So, all right, well, let's go over what we weren't so crazy about in this movie here. So, speaking for me personally, not as much action as in the first one. I felt like action kind of took a back seat in this movie, whereas like the first movie that made it its bread and butter.
Oh, totally.
And yeah, it's just not, I don't know. I think that's probably my biggest point of contention with this movie is just the fact that, you know, you literally probably redefine like action and like hand-to-hand combat for like, you know, a generation here for the most part. And you literally don't do much more capitalize on it. It's kind of like almost like, say like if we went to go see John Wick 4 tomorrow and there was like maybe 1 or 2 action scenes.
That'd be weird.
That'd be weird.
The whole movie's a long action scene.
Exactly. So, but it'd be like, okay, like, I want my money back. Like, I didn't get what I wanted type of thing here. But, and then no more boss fight format, at least not in this movie here, which.
Not as much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
There's definitely more of that in the third movie.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's probably a little bit of a selfish want here just because I really want to make that Mega Man Jason Bourne t-shirt where you have like all the boss stage selections and then you have Jason Bourne in the middle where Mega Man's supposed to be, but you know, anyhow, but no, that's pretty much it for like me on like things I wasn't too crazy about.
And I agree with you on all that. And then I think that kind of the subplot of where Jason's dealing with that first kill and the repercussions of it, I think it's good that it kind of humanizes him more, but also it's just kind of awkward.
Well, I mean,
where he's confessing to this young teenage girl.
Yeah, basically.
Maybe in her early 20s, I don't know.
Probably early 20s.
He's like, I would want to know if this actually happened. Like, you've grown up knowing that, or thinking that your mom killed your father and then killed herself. That's not true. I killed them. Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, I kind of get like where they were trying to go with that.
He kept repeating, I would want to know.
Yeah. I get where they were trying to go with that, but it's like, it's kind of like almost like one of those things where it's like, hey, you know, your parents actually didn't kill each other. I did. Do you feel better now?
Yeah.
It's like,
no. Yeah.
Like, they're still dead, and like now I know that they got murdered by some white guy here, you know?
Yeah, so, final thoughts. Overall, good movie. Not as strong as the first. Not as much fighting, more focused on car chases and character, I think.
Yeah.
What did you think? What's your final thoughts?
I mean, final thoughts for me, you know, I think if I saw this in theaters or, you know, I felt like I would have been kind of let down by this movie here. I mean, I just think that they struck a gold vein with the first Bourne movie. Yeah. And they didn't really capitalize or give you like really like the amount or more that you wanted or you expected from like a sequel here. At least that was my opinion on watching this movie. Very short movie, I feel like, for a typical like, you know, theatrical blockbuster, like clocks in roughly about 2 hours. This was like about like an hour 40. And I think like maybe that might be something that goes along with it. But yeah, the pacing I felt like is definitely slower. Just a less interesting movie in my opinion, even though we do find out more stuff about, you know, things like Abbott, things like Jason Bourne, all these other things here. But overall, not bad. I just wish it was probably more similar to the first movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps everything up for this edition of our Bourne trilogy. Be looking for our weekly show coming out this next Monday. And our finale of Bourne Ultimatum coming up soon this next Thursday. And so thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. Check us out on our social medias. Have an awesome week. And remember, everyone's a nerd about something.